Hi, it's Julie with Sassy Sunflower Quilts. Today we're going to make a party pail to use for trick-or-treating or as a goodie bag. It's a quick, fun little bag to zip up. It's got a lot of little easy tricks to make it go really fast. And it is called Party Pail, and it does look circular on the top, but there's a really easy way to get that look without having to deal with circles. So we're going to have some fun with this today. Let's get going. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to collect all of the supplies to make the party pail. You need 2 fat quarters that coordinate. I'm going to use a really cute purple fabric with witch hats and brooms on it, and then a polka dot from the center. So 2 fat quarters. You need 1 piece of fusible batting, and that will be 13 by 22 inches. And you need 2 yards of webbing, and I use the 1-inch webbing. Since this is a smaller bag, I really feel like the 1-inch webbing is plenty big enough, and you can use either the polyester or the cotton webbing, whichever you choose. And then we have an optional little pocket inside that's made out of clear vinyl, and so you just need a small piece, 3.5 inches by 4.5 inches. I don't know if you can see that, of clear vinyl, and a 1/2 yard of some kind of ribbon or trim. And this will be for edging your vinyl pocket. So those are the things you need to gather, and then we're going to get started on this bag. All right, from the outside fabric and the lining fabric, you're going to want to cut each one of those into a piece that is 13 by 21 inches. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and set, this is going to be my outside of my bag, so I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. And first we're going to work with the inside lining of the bag. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is go ahead and just fold your lining together and then just hand crease it, just so you're able to tell where the center of that piece of fabric is. Okay, you can see that really well. All right, and the first thing we're going to do is, if you would want to add a little pocket on the inside, this is where you're going to do it. And we're doing it out of this vinyl, and I don't know if you can kind of see that. It's a 3.5 inch by 4.5 inch piece, and we are taking some trim, and I'm going to use rickrack, like a glittery green rickrack, because it kind of matches the colors that I'm doing. And I'm going to go ahead and sew that all the way around the edge of this piece of vinyl. And that's the first step to doing the pocket. What it comes out looking like is like this. Okay? And I've got the rickrack all sewn around. All right, what we're going to want to do is, as far as positioning of this, you want to measure down 2.5 inches from the top of your piece. And 2.5 inches lands right there, so I'm going to put that there. And then you're going to want to center that between the halfway point and the edge of your lining. And I usually just put a couple of pins. It's kind of hard to pin through vinyl, but usually if you go through the trim, it works a little bit better. Obviously, clipping it is absolutely impossible because you're too far into the fabric. Too far in the middle of the fabric, that is. Okay, that'll be enough to hold it. Okay, and you could use a solid here. You could just make a regular fabric pocket and put it in if you'd like, or whatever kind of pocket. We're using a vinyl pocket because we're going to use this as a trick-or-treat bag for kids. So what I want to do is put a little card in there with my child's name on it, and phone number, maybe street address, just in case they get lost, or if their bag gets lost, one of the other moms can bring it back to us. So we are going to use vinyl. Use whatever you'd like, use your creativity. And what we're going to do is we're going to just sew it down the side, across the bottom, and up the other side. Just remember to backstitch here at the beginning and the end, just because that always gets a lot more wear on it, and that'll keep your pocket from coming loose. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stitch this down, and then we'll go to the next step. All right, so I've got the fusible web fused to the back of the outside of my bag. And then you're going to want to place your bag so that the top is up here. Okay, and this doesn't really matter if it's a all over pattern. If you have a directional pattern, you want to make sure you identify where the top of the bag is. So what you want to do is take your outside fabric, and then you're going to take your inner fabric, your lining fabric, and you're going to put that face down on top of your outside fabric. And make sure again that your tops are matching. This would be your top where your pocket is. Obviously you want your pocket near the top of your bag, not on the bottom. It's not going to do you a lot of good there. And I usually use clips to hold mine if possible, just because they're so much easier than the pins. But if you have pins and that's what you like to use, go ahead and do that. All right, now for all of this part of the bag, we're going to use a 1/4 inch seam, and we're going to sew all the way along the top, okay, using a 1/4 inch seam. And then I'm going to be right back to show you how we put the next step together. All right, so I went and real quick stitched a 1/4 inch seam all the way across the top. Then we're going to open that up to make it one big piece. Okay, and you will want to press this seam. Be careful not to touch your vinyl because obviously that's going to melt. And press your seams towards the inside lining. All right. Then we're going to take this same fabric and we're going to turn it to the side so that we can fold it in half again. Okay. And make sure the first clip you're going to want to put is making sure that you've lined up, you can see that, you've lined up those two, the back and the front. Okay, that seam that you just made will be lined up. Okay, I'm going to clip that and clip the rest of that side seam all the way down, and the same thing with your lining. All right. And I'm not going to bore you with sewing that seam on the video because you all know what it looks like to sew a 1/4 inch seam. So I'm going to go real quick and sew that 1/4 inch seam all the way from one end to the other. And then we'll continue on. We're going to get to the fun part where we put on the handles and start to make it look like an actual bag. Okay, so we've sewed that side seam up. So what you've got effectively is a big tube. Okay, it goes right through, and you're going to go ahead and reach through, and you want to turn that right side out, so the whole thing is right side out. Okay, there's your pocket. And then you're going to take your inside lining and you're going to tuck it inside the bag. Okay, you want to pull that all through so that your upper edges are even. Okay, and that's all flat. And you're going to want to take that side seam that you just sewed. You can always press around the top if you'd like. Get that side seam on right here on the side. Make sure that's all even. Okay. And then you're going to place your handles. This is a super easy way to do it. You're going to take two 20-inch pieces of whatever you'd like, really, whatever kind of either polyester, cotton webbing, whatever you choose. And this is where you can also get creative if you want to. Before you put the handles on, if you want to add some type of trim like this up the center, just to give it a little more pizzazz, or something that coordinates, that type of thing, go ahead and sew that onto your straps before you attach them to your bag. All right, now we're going to use a ruler. We're going to measure 2.5 inches from each side, and that's where you're going to place your straps. Okay, and the other side of this same strap will come around. Just make sure it's not twisted. Sometimes no matter how hard I try to make sure that isn't twisted, I still twist it up. Okay, and this is 2.5 inches as well. And I usually overlap it about 1/2 inch on the top. And I use clips for these. Okay, so that's that side. And then you want to flip it over. And you can really just eyeball it because you just measured on the other side. So you can just eyeball this one so that it's in the same place on the back side. And we'll make sure that that one's not twisted, and we'll clip that guy in place too. Now, there are a couple options here. You could, of course, also use pins, and you can feel free to go ahead and baste those in place just so you can get rid of the clips. Sometimes I do that. For this one, I am actually going to use, let's see, where's my webbing? I have more black webbing that I can use, so I can use that to go around. It's going to cover up this area and attach the handles at the same time we're sewing it down. You can use webbing, or you can go ahead and use a trim or a ribbon or something that coordinates. Now, for what I'm going to do, since this is going to be a trick-or-treat bag, I've got this really cute ribbon that is reflective, and it looks like, I don't know if you can see it, it almost looks like a spider web color, and it's reflective, so headlights will of course light it up. And since these are going to be out at night with trick-or-treaters, I thought that would be really cute and also really safe. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach that right to, so the edge of it is at the very, very top of the bag. And this will be attached all the way around. I got this cute ribbon from my sister and her shop is My Little Shindig Fabric Factory. She does all kinds of super cute things, custom fabrics, and just some really fun bag making supplies and quilting supplies. And this was one of the fun things that was in this last her latest monthly subscription bag, and I just love it. I think it's so absolutely adorable, and it matches really cute with the colors in this bag, and it will help keep the trick-or-treaters safe. So what's not to love about that, right? Okay, and I'm just going to give myself a little bit extra. So when I get to the end, I'll just go ahead and turn it under and sew it like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew it first around the top, all the way around the top, and get rid of my clips. And then once I have it sewn and attached to the bag all the way around the top, I'll go ahead and sew it all the way around at the bottom as well. Okay, now with this, the stitching on this is going to show on the inside. So you want to be sure that you change your bobbin thread to match whatever color the inside of your bag is. So I'm going to go ahead and change my bobbin thread to orange so that it doesn't show up big black stitch lines on the inside of my bag. And I'm going to go ahead and stitch that down all the way around the top. And that will stitch down my cute decorative reflective ribbon, as well as stitch my handles in place. Okay, I am going to show you with this, when you're sewing this ribbon around the top, I went ahead and took the this little piece that makes it a flat sewing area off of my sewing machine so that I would just have the arm sticking out, because what you do is you go ahead and put this whole piece over the arm, so it just makes it easier to turn around while you're stitching. Okay, and you can easily get your ribbon and your foot right under the foot, so that you can get started. And you're going to sew, as I said, around the top first. And as you come through, you'll be able to go right over those little handles and hold them in place. Okay. The first time going around is a little bit more slow going, just because you've got a lot of clips, you've got a lot of things that are held in place to deal with. Get rid of these clips. Okay. Second time around is easy peasy because you've already got all of your handles in place. You've got the ribbon in place. It sews up real fast. Okay. And at the very end, you want to just turn that under so that you have a nice ending part. Okay. And just make sure that your ribbon stays even around the top. Okay. We're going to get the last part of that handle, that last handle attached. Okay. And we're back to where we started. Okay, I'm going to clip that. And then I'm just going to move it over to here because now we're going to sew around the bottom part of that ribbon. Okay, and this goes, like I said, this goes super fast because your ribbon is already held in place by that top seam. This is actually a super quick little project. You can make a bunch of these real fast for goodie bags or a gift for the teacher. Okay, take that off. Okay. All right, and we're going to take it back over, and I'll show you how to finish the bottom, and that's all there is to it. See how nicely that attached your straps and your ribbon, and it's all sewn around on the inside, and we're good to go. All right, let's go over to the table and I'll show you how to finish the bottom of this bag. Okay, so we've got the bag. It's looking like a bag. It's looking really cute, but we need to go ahead and finish the bottom. So what you're going to do is pull this inside out one more time. Okay, and we're going to line up that side seam that we sewed. So make sure that's on the side. You've got your pocket in the middle. Okay, and make sure all your fabric is laying flat inside. It's not all bunched up. Okay, and we're going to sew across the bottom with a 1/2 inch seam. Now, if you want make sure that your fabric is all flat inside, you can go ahead and clip that with some little clips. And if you have a serger, what I would do is go ahead and just do a 1/2 inch seam and then serge that. Or if you don't have a serger, you could just do a zigzag stitch across. And actually, I don't think I'm going to even deal with my serger on this little project. I'm just going to go ahead and do a little zigzag across. All right, so I've stitched along the bottom. I trimmed it off to about 1/4. I stitched it at I stitched it at 1/2 inch, then 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inches. At 1/2 inch, we stitched this. Then I trimmed it to 1/4 inch, and I went ahead and put like a zigzag type stitch. I don't know if you can see that right along the edge. I think you can see that very well. Just to keep it from fraying out. All right, now, if you want to have just a really flat type of a bag, you can turn it right side out at this point, and it can just be a regular flat, more flat kind of a tote. But if we want it to look like a pail, which is what we're going for, it's not completely round, but it does look like a pail, you need to box these 2 bottom corners. And if you have a method that you like to use to box corners, go ahead and do that. I will show you the method that I like to use just because I feel like it's super easy and quick. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to mark off 2.5 inches from the side edge and along the stitching line. Okay, so I've marked that off like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to line it up at 2.5 inches at the stitching line and 2.5 inches along that outer edge. Make sure not that I was on that stitching line. Nope, I wasn't quite on that stitching line. So let me get that fixed. Okay. All right. And then with a sharp pair of scissors, and I really like these because they're for thicker fabrics. Fiskar makes them and they are wonderful. They're great for fleece and cutting through batting. You're going to cut that right on the line. Okay, just cut that square out, set it aside, pitch it, or think of something clever to do with it. But we're not going to be using it, so you don't need it for this project. Okay, so we're cutting that out. Whoop. Didn't quite clip all the way through. All right. Okay, we've got those two sides clipped out, and what you're going to do is you're going to want to grab the corner here. Okay, so you're pinching the outside and the inside, and you want to pull that open and line up those seams. So you line up that bottom seam, you put a clip in it, okay, and you clip it on both sides. Okay, so this is going to give you a flat edge to sew. All right. Oh, doesn't want to clip. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. You're going to want to open that up. You'll be matching along the bottom. Okay, so clip it a couple of times there, each side. All right, and now what we're going to be doing here is we're going to go ahead and sew. This is what it'll look like on the bottom. You can see how this is shaping up. Okay, and you're going to sew a 1/2 inch on the side on this straight edge. You're going to from this edge all the way over. Okay, and then you'll trim it to a 1/4 inch and zigzag stitch or serge it, whichever you'd like, and then do the same exact thing on this other side. Okay, and that's actually the last sewing step to this bag. So let's go ahead and get those two little sides sewn up, and then we'll be able to turn it and see what we come up with. So I've got the bottom seams boxed, and I finished them with a little zigzag stitch so that they don't come unraveled. And the only thing left to do is put our hand in there, grab the bottom, and we're going to turn it right side out so we can get a look at what our bag looks like, all finished up. Poke those corners out, and there you go. You've got a cute little party pail, and we called it party pail because it has a nice flat bottom to sit on, but it looks rounded because of the way we box those deep corners. So it's a nice size for kids to carry if they're going trick-or-treating, or if you want to give it as a gift, use it as a goodie bag for a party. It's perfect for any of those things. You can also make it with different fabrics, different ribbons. I used on this one, since I had a kitty cat print, I used a paw print all the way around the edge on the top. And that's the same thing that I used around the pocket on the inside. So there's just all kinds of ways that you can use this tutorial. I hope that you have fun making bunches of these, and I would love to see them. You can tag me on Instagram with your lovely creations, or on my Facebook page. Also, if you like this tutorial and you'd like to see more, go ahead and hit subscribe. And if you liked it, hit like as well, share it with friends, and I'll see you next time for another fun tutorial. Bye.